By now, you've seen our latest backpack video. I'm sure you have, because at this point we've got around 60,000 views on that video. I'm gonna shoot you guys straight. I knew that that video was gonna pop off because we've done bag videos in the past, and I also knew that there were gonna be a lot of different questions and also some dumb comments that were gonna get thrown out in the video. So what we decided to do was have a little bit of an organic, kind of one take, fly by the seat of our pants Q&A session. So what's gonna happen is I am going to answer questions that Brenton is going to give to me. And these questions were found on that latest backpack gun video. So if you want to see all the comments and get into that spicy comment section, go over to that video. We will put a link in the description. Check that video out after you're done watching this one. And the other cool fact is I have no idea which comments Brenton has picked. So I'm going to answer them to the best of my ability. This is a true one take of your questions in the comment section, or even, like I said, some comments that are down there. So Brenton, kick us away. Give me the first one.
All right, so the first few comments are dealing with gear, and the first comment comes from Kyle Crawford. He says, been carrying a bag gun on and off for over 10 years now. It takes way more practice to be proficient with it. The hardest part is finding a bag that carries it well and hides the bulk. So what bag do you recommend?
Yeah, so that's a good one. And I'm going to preface this by saying we will be doing a lot more bag gun content in the very near future. And it's also a great time to kind of give you guys a little bit of a teaser and let you know that there is a new YouTube channel coming. It's called Arcane. We will link to it when it's time. If you search that, you might be able to find it, but we just don't have any content live yet. But essentially, it's going to depend on what my objective is. So when I'm carrying a rifle around with me in public, typically I'm going to try to keep it as small and compact as possible. Now, one of my favorite bags that I carry a rifle with is a Vertex Gamut 2.0, and I'm going to shoot straight with you guys that that bag is big for many different situations that I find myself in. So often what I'm going to be carrying is my 5-inch 300 Blackout, and I use one of the Vertex single sling bags. So they have the EDC sling and the commuter sling. Either one of those will be fine, but that is for micro carbines. So when I go one step above that, and I'm still trying to blend in and not be very obvious, but I want a little bit bigger bag, maybe I want like an 8-inch, 9-inch kind of AR-15 or Galil or something like that, I'll go with the EDC Ready Pack. And that's just one of or two options there that you guys could consider. There's a million different bags out on the market, and you could find a skinnier bag that's a little bit longer to fit a longer rifle. But the thing we have to balance is the fact that we know that the bigger the bag, the more you're going to stand out. Think about it next time you're in public. Frequent the areas that you go often and just look around at the kind of bags that people carry. If you end up being able to match that, you're going to blend in. So hit me with the next one.
So the next one comes from David Ray. He says, Bull-pups make great backpack guns. No compromise in bullet velocity, compact, and easy to shoulder and carry for long periods of time. Buy a Bull-pup. So my question to you is how you feel about Bull-pup guns as backpack guns.
So personally, I would never carry a Bull-pup as a backpack gun. I just can't. You know, the only Bull-pup that I own currently is a Tavor 7, but I've spent a lot of time around X95s. And to be honest, guys, I would not recommend a Bull-pup. Even though they are a 16-inch barrel, yes, you're getting full velocity. If you measure the overall length of those rifles, they are extremely long, even considering or compared to something like a 5-inch, 7.5-inch, 300 Blackout, or even a 10.3. They're going to be about the same length as a 10.3. Could you do it? Yes. But for me personally, I'm only answering for myself personally, the Bull-pup is not the go-to. I'm going to have to carry with too big of a bag. Next one.
The next question has to deal with cops, and there's a ton of comments on this about, cops shooting. So this one is from Ryan. He says, I disagree with the statement at 355. I carry to protect myself and my family. I'm not running into a grocery store to save the lives of people that choose not to carry. I'm not risking the chance that I don't return home to my family for someone else's. If I wanted to do that, I would have joined the military or became a cop. Not to mention the amount of confusion that would come from a dozen plainclothed men running into a grocery store with rifles. Too much risk to be shot by the bad guy or another untrained good guy.
So that's a lot to unpack. And I see that comment a lot when we start talking about defense of others. And I'm going to unpack that in several different ways and kind of break down that question. So the first thing that I would point out is there's a mindset issue. And honestly, I'm not going to stand here and tell you guys what to do with your life. I said that in the bag gun video. I'm not here to force you guys to do something. Ultimately, I'm going to present my opinion, and it's just my opinion. You can take it, leave it, you can hate it, love it, be indifferent. I don't really care. Ultimately, I've created my beliefs based on my experiences. Now, the thing that I'm going to say is whether you believe in God or whether you're just believing in whatever universe thing you believe in, ultimately, I think that most people would agree that in life, you're going to get back what you put into it. And now that's not a manipulative thing. I'm not saying to do things for people to get things in return. However, I would say that if your mindset is, I will never ever stand up for somebody else, do not ever expect somebody else to stand up for you. And even further than that, if you're a man and you have a wife or children, your duty is to protect them. Sure, 100%, I get it. And also be their provider. So yes, I agree with the fact that there is a major risk that you are taking if you respond to an event like a mass shooting or any kind of robbery or anything like that. And again, you have to decide this for yourself. But what I would caution you with is when you stand here as a man and say, and I'm assuming it's a man. I mean, nowadays you can't do that, but I'm assuming this guy is a man. What I would say is be very careful as men having this position, because here's the deal. I'm not always with my wife and kids. I'm not out with them when they're grocery shopping all the time. Sometimes I am. Yes, my wife is armed, and yes, I let her have a Glock 19. They're gonna hate me for that. I allowed my wife to have a firearm. My wife carries a Glock 19, so she's not totally helpless, but at the end of the day, I'm not there with her all the time, and I hope and pray that if something bad goes down like it did in Buffalo or Texas or any of the other mass shootings that have happened, I hope that another man steps in and is willing to say, I am willing to risk my safety in order to protect those who can't protect themselves, because I understand what community means. And community does mean that sometimes we sacrifice for the betterment of that community. So I think it's a poor mindset personally. And I can tell you this much, as we kick off the Exodus companies and we kick off the podcast and we do all the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes, my intention is to build a flock of defenders, not people that are weak and cowardly who are unwilling to step in and sacrifice for other people, because that is a selfish mentality. Second, let's unpack the police aspect, because that comes up all the time when we talk about backpack guns. The reality is, it doesn't matter if I draw my pistol or if I've got a backpack Uzi, like my little Uzi Pro here. If I decide to draw a gun in defense of my own life, I always, every single time, risk that somebody will see me and mistake me as a threat. Okay, that's just the reality of it. So living in fear and saying I'm never willing to do that because I'm scared of getting shot by another good person, it's a poor mindset. I still think that it's just a bad position to be standing in. Rather than be worried about that, recognize that it is a risk and come up with your plan. So for one thing, we know that in my area, average police response times are going to be anywhere from 2 minutes to 15 minutes. And I know that from personal experience as well. So let's say I'm in a mall and I'm able to deploy my rifle, engage a shooter, stop the threat. I don't have to stand there with my rifle, guys. Like, you realize I have a backpack. I can put that gun away. I can throw the gun in the trash can. Literally, you can do whatever it takes to survive. You can leave the general vicinity. I know that I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not going to tell you guys how a lawyer would determine this crap to be legal or not. That's not my place. But what I'm telling you is what I'm willing to do. If I have to leave the entire area of where that shooting took place, and I defended my life, I successfully ended a mass shooting or whatever it might be, I'm going to leave. And I might not go far, but I'm going to make sure I'm safe. If there's police and you hear them yelling commands and you hear them commanding people in a mall or a store or something like that, listen to them. Understand what they're saying. Hear them. And if you know that they're coming, maybe put your rifle down, because if you look like a threat, you act like a threat, and you're armed, and you even closely resemble the description of the 20 descriptions that are probably thrown out to the cops at the time of the shooting, you're going to get shot. So part of this is just not being stupid. Don't be stupid. Be a responsible citizen, and then do your due diligence and make sure that you are looking professional. You don't look sketchy. You're not acting sketchy. If you're carrying a bag gun, make sure it's very, very discreet. I'm talking nobody can call you out. And I would just say that think about these things in a little bit different of a lens. Most of this comes down to mindset. All right, sorry, long-winded. Hit me with the next one.
So I'm going to add on to that. Esther12Q, I'm just going to read part of this. They asked, I have one recommendation to add to your bag. I carry a neon yellow vest that says security, so I'm readily recognized by police as an ally and not a threat.
I think that the reality is, if I draw a rifle and I have to engage a threat, it doesn't matter what vest I have on. It could be a Girl Scout vest with all the patches and stuff. If you have a gun in your hands and you're pointing it at the direction of the police, there's a chance that you can get shot. It's just the reality of it. I don't think that that's a bad idea per se, and there's a lot of people that have opinions about that. The question would be, can you deploy it in time to be able to engage a threat with a rifle? Now, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to sit here and act like an expert in tactics and how to respond to this stuff. Again, I'm just sharing my opinion. So I would say that anything you can do to look like you're not a threat is probably a good thing. I would highly not recommend putting on a police vest or something looking like cops, because you might find yourself having some other charges at the end of this. But if you are a police officer undercover or whatever, or in plain clothes, that's a different story. But we do have to be careful with that. So hit me with the next one.
So there's a bunch of questions asked about how you carry as far as like being an inconvenience, because like people were saying like they have to go to the park, and if it rains they have to clean their gun, and just like general inconveniences with bag guns and how you deal with that.
I think the biggest inconvenience is the fact that you have extra weight and extra bulk, and at the end of the day, if you have a good bag, it's going to be very discreet, very compact, and very comfortable. The reality though is, if I'm out in public with a backpack with a rifle, the least positive aspect of it would be leaving it in the vehicle. And there's a lot of people that are very concerned about that, and I think that that's a good point. Now, do I always take it with me? No, I don't always carry a rifle with me every single place that I go. If I don't have my rifle, I always have my Glock 19. I always have medical with me. So you have to decide, where are you going, what comfort level are you comfortable with, and what are the surroundings of your area. That's going to dictate how you would carry that gun.
So the next one, Pastor JC, he says, come on, bro. Just because you can do something doesn't make it right. If you carry handguns, it's enough.
So I would push back and say, enough for what? How do you define the things that I might face in my life? And at the end of the day, I said it in the video, I honestly couldn't care less if me carrying a rifle makes you feel uncomfortable. I don't care in the least. I cannot emphasize that enough. I do not care if you do not like that I carry a rifle. I don't have to give you justification. I don't have to have a reason. There is zero explanation required on my part in order to justify what I'm doing. Now, I talk about these things because I want to share my viewpoint, but please do not mistake it as me giving a crap about what you think about the things that I do in my life. Next one.
All right, so Derek asks, the bad guys have figured out the rifle's supreme. We need more good men willing to do patriotic things to protect them from those that do not value life. Carry on, King. But Andy C responds, rifles make up less than 300 gun deaths a year. Handguns are used for the vast, overwhelming majority of gun crimes and mass shootings. I get the point you're trying to make, but if you don't use the proper facts, anti-Second Amendment people use that as an argument against parts of the Second Amendment, like trying to ban rifles for the exact reason you just said.
Yeah, I don't care what they think. That's the first part. Again, I'm not giving anything up. You'll never get rifles from me. You'll never get ammunition. You'll never get magazines, suppressors, SBRs. I don't care. At the end of the day, my objective here is not defense, because I believe that for far too long, we have been on the defense. Ever since the early 1900s, we have been backpedaling, and we've always said, oh, we're going to draw this cute little line in the sand, and then we step back. And then organizations like the NRA and all these other phony little organizations help push that line backwards. So I'm not about that whole, worrying about what they think, because does the left give a crap about what you think? How many times have you seen drag queens pushed to kids or transgender pushed as normal? At the end of the day, you have the exact same thing being pushed on you all the time. You have media entities, billionaires, all of these different entities and elitist politicians shoving crap down your throat, and they're on the offense. And for far too long, we have been on the defense. So to answer that first part there, I don't care what they think about it. Now, I would also say that you are correct in your assessment in that rifles are used very little in gun crime. And I would say, yeah, that's the truth. And that's a good thing. Now, we're not necessarily worried about the regular gun crime that we're talking about. What we are looking at is saying it's a right for citizens to carry rifles. I believe that. I don't think that even the Second Amendment grants that. The Second Amendment is putting a protection against the government. It's not granting anything to us as people. And I believe it's your right to carry a rifle with you. So whether or not the statistics make any sense at all, I don't care. That's not the point of this video. The point is it is your right as a human to carry the tools that are necessary to defend your life. And with modern technology and modern arms, with compact SBRs, you can carry very small, very potent calibers in a very discreet way, unlike any other time before. And because of that, we can implement this into certain aspects of our lives, especially if we know we're going into soft targets, so that we can have a rifle on deck instead of throwing 9mm rounds at someone wearing body armor. So I know that didn't fully unpack it, but that's kind of my mindset breaking that down.
Yeah. So the next comment from Tail Gunner Media, I'm not going to read it. It's very in-depth and long. You guys can read it here. I'm going to put it up. But basically he goes into weighing the consequences for carrying a rifle legally. And I wanted to kind of get your feel on how you go about that.
Yeah, from a legal standpoint. So
yeah.
In my last video, I made it very clear to you guys that we are at a time in our nation where I believe that we need to start really questioning the justness of our legal system and the laws that are pushed out. Because we know that evil, vile people are creating these laws. And the problem that I have with that in our republic is we have such an easy method for people now who are quite literally bastardizing our republic to completely screw us for the next 15, 20 generations. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't be that easy to be able to do that, but we're faced with that current situation as we speak. We don't have the ability in many places to legally carry a rifle. So the question comes down to you and what you're willing to tolerate as a human being, and also what you're willing to sacrifice in order to be better prepared to protect yourself and other people. And honestly, like I said, that's a question for you. Now, in Pennsylvania, there are some coverages and the fact that we have our license to carry firearms, and I'll actually have Brenton cut this out and show you, I think it's Title 18 of the Pennsylvania Code. They define firearm in a way that, actually I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna read it. Okay guys, so looking up the definition of firearms, this is under Title 18, and we have right here, I'm just going to read it word for word. This is straight from the Pennsylvania Crime Code here. Definition of firearm: any pistol or revolver with a barrel length less than 15 inches, any shotgun with a barrel length less than 18 inches, any rifle with a barrel length less than 16 inches, or any pistol, revolver, rifle, or shotgun with an overall length of less than 26 inches. So I botched that a little bit at the end there. But anyway, so what you notice there is there's some protections for short-barreled rifles and shotguns that many of you in Pennsylvania may not have realized. Now, I'm not a lawyer. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. You have to read this stuff and come to a determination for yourself. Many states you can throw a rifle loaded in your vehicle. You're good to go. But Pennsylvania isn't necessarily one of them. So you have to make a call if you're living in my state. What are you willing to do in order to protect innocent life? And I think, in my opinion, that we should get to a point in society where we realize what laws are unjust and which laws actually end up killing people, and we have to be willing to step over certain lines at certain times in order to better protect those around us. Again, going back to that community aspect. So hit me with another one.
Yeah, no, that's good. So this next one is in my what the folder. His name is Americans for Truth and Justice. This is kind of very ironic, but how do you hide an illegally carried rifle? You hide it in a crowd of legally carried rifles. When everyone is carrying a rifle, which ones are legal and which are for evil intent? Foolish argument. Each store in a mall should have access to a rifle and should be authorized to shoot anyone discovered to be carrying a rifle into their store. This guy says he loves people, but he really enjoys justifying his foolishness. He's encouraging illegal activity. Be intelligent and disregard this fool.
So what was his username?
Americans for Truth and Justice.
Yeah. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't make this stuff up. All right, so the number one comment when people get triggered about somebody carrying a rifle is that, honestly, they're compensating for something, if you know what I mean. Everybody likes to be like, oh, he's got some insecurity, so that's why he's carrying a rifle. No, I'm a father. I have 4 kids. I've got a wife. I have people around me that I care about, that I'm around every single day. And I recognize that life is extremely precious. Now, I may not have seen as much loss as some of you throughout the years, but I have seen some, and I understand the impact of losing loved ones way too young. And I'm just not willing to have nothing on the table that affords me even the ability to fight back. Doesn't matter how strong you are, how fast you are, how well you can hit, how well you can grapple. If you're going against some dude with a rifle, you're gonna freaking lose. And that's just the reality of this. So my mindset does not come from a place of arrogance or to try to prove anything to anyone. And honestly, this dude's either a boomer FUD or he's a commie, and his user handle is very ironic. Next one.
So that was basically it from my list. There's a ton of great comments from that video, and I'm sure there will be a ton more over the next few days. But the one thing I noticed was just really cool was there's a few comments about boomers who were saying they weren't FUDs. Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
The one boomer said that a 45 has plenty of knockdown power. And dude, I just you guys earned the title for a reason. That's all I gotta say. So yeah, guys, just kind of wrapping this video up. I know this kind of ran on for a little bit. I hope that kind of gave you a little bit of an insight into my mindset, pulled the veil back a little bit on who I am and why I think the way that I do. You know, I'm not advocating that people go out with rifles and try to solve every single problem you're ever faced in life with a rifle. It's like that analogy where if the only tool that you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. And I think that we can be much smarter in our society. But I also recognize that because of where we are at in this weak, junk, garbage culture, we need to be on the offensive. We can no longer just be sitting back and saying, well, I guess that's just the way it is. Here's my line in the sand. And then we just step back the moment they push back. And we see things like magazine bans up in Washington. Those people should be crossing state lines and purchasing magazines at a higher rate than they ever have before, because you have unconstitutional restrictions now on a human right. We have these politicians and elitists that we act like they're stupid, but they know exactly what they're doing. They understand that when they fool us, they pull the wool over our eyes, they keep us in fear, they keep us fat and dependent and unhealthy and addicted and mentally ill and unstable. When they can control all of that stuff, we are very easily manipulated. So we need to be smarter than that, and we need to be able to see through the lies. And then there's also a time for sacrifice. And we see the greats in history have stood up in the face of great cost. And my question to you and my challenge to you is, when we hear these politicians pushing these agendas and ultimately limiting our ability to not only defend ourselves, but also be free from tyranny, we need to stand up. And it's far past time that Americans have started to take this seriously and put into plan actions that are going to push back against these commies that have just infiltrated all aspects of our government. So guys, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, leave us a comment down below and let us know what you think about it. Ultimately, I'm not here to tell you and force you to carry a backpack gun. If it makes sense for you, do it. If you're nervous of the law, I would say there's plenty of good attorneys out there that can help you figure out whether or not you can carry it legally. If you are a red-blooded American, maybe you're just going to shove a rifle in a backpack and call it a day. By all means, just make sure when we're doing this, guys, we're responsible, we're smart, we are training to a very high level. We want to be as good or better, preferably better than any responding force would be in the event that you are in a shooting scenario. So guys, if it was helpful, like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think down below. Check out that other bag video. And as always, if you want to show some support to us, check out our website, tatargets.com. We've got thermal, night vision, optics, weapon accessories, steel targets, cardboard targets, and we have apparel coming soon for our new brands. We'll put some links down in the description. We appreciate we appreciate you guys. We will catch you in the next one.